You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Welcome to the Capitalist Corner, everyone. I am your host, Michael Leibowitz. Mark Pellegrino is here with us today. No, of course, that's not Mark Pellegrino. That's Persephone. Now Mark Pellegrino has arrived. Let's get him on the stage. All right, Persephone, I'm going to remove you, and we're going to listen to all of Mark's excuses for while he's late. Okay, Mark.
What?
Come on, we need to hear it.
Did you already do the
I haven't done anything. I waited a little while. I'm texting you like a madman. I called you. I get nothing. Persephone's wicked pissed.
Wicked pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just feverishly doing a lot of things and finally got to get here. So that's why I had too much stuff to do this morning. So there's no other reason. Sorry. That's it. I had a lot of stuff to do. And
trimming the mustache evidently was not one of them. Okay.
Although that was going to be.
I've got nothing. I have covered nothing.
Okay.
Persephone's making fun of us, so that's cool.
Okay.
I don't know how I always get dragged into it, into her gripes with you, but I'll take it. So we got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
But before that, yes. But before that, I'm assuming, of course, that you've actually looked at the stuff I've sent you. But beside that, I've got some great stuff out on the Rational Egoist right now, and you should be sharing this episode right now, Mr. Pellegrino. I have a great interview on the Rational Egoist with a young woman named Francesca Mormani, who I've unfortunately keep thinking of as Mom Donnie. Luckily, I didn't introduce her that way, but this woman has the potential to be an absolute star. The interview is all about her and her life. I highly recommend that everybody watch it. Very bright, very talented, wicked, sick overachiever, very charming. Check it out. It's on the Rational Egoist right now. Of course, I've got later on today coming up the Everyday Ethics. We've got an interview coming up on my show, Rational Egoist, with Gene Epstein. Mark and I do Self-Made Soul on the weekends. We're very, very busy people. We're not always on time. Well,
no, we're usually on time. I'd say
I'm always on time. What do you mean? We are usually.
We got.
When have I been late?
On time rate. 98%.
When was I not on time? When you changed the time?
Here's why
I didn't know.
I decided to train early in the morning since now my shoulder is getting better and my rib is not as popped out as it used to be and other ligaments seem to be healing. So I trained pretty hard this morning and then I read all the articles and then I had to do a bunch of other stuff, chores that my wife didn't do. Sorry, baby, but you didn't do them. And so I had to do those real quick and just barely made it. I thought I was making it on time, but I was 2 minutes late. And you already did all the intro without me. So why don't we start with this horrible piece of news that you gave me first off, that the federal chairman, Jerome Powell, just issued a statement after news broke out that the Department of Justice investigation has been opened against him. Powell says he will continue to do this job. The Senate confirmed him to serve the American people, but they are after him for, I guess, the remodeling of the building. They're investigating him with respect to that, but it's really about the political pressure Trump is trying to apply to him because he wants him to lower interest rates while Powell is trying to keep inflation in check and do the responsible thing, keep a tight money policy so that we don't get these boom bust cycles that Trump seems to be perfectly fine with. I noticed we have a super chat there. Is that a super chat or is that a super sticker? What is that? That color right there.
Oh my Lord, dude!
I can't see.
You can. It's a super chat because it says something. It says, "Don't you kids make stop this car." I don't really know what that means, but we're very grateful to this young lady, Jenna Kleem, for her very nice donation. So there's so much here, Mark, that goes, and we talk about this all the time, but I really kind of want to make this land today with what exactly it is we're talking about, because it's not just a president, it's not just overstepping, it's the movement that's around him. So after seeing this, I just want to explain something. After seeing this morning, I posted about the Trump movement. And this is what I said. Note the pattern. Trump repeatedly acts like an authoritarian in his posts, executive orders, policy proposals, and laws he supports. Those of us who care about liberty repeatedly respond by calling him out. His supporters then say that all we talk about is Trump. We're obsessed. We have TDS. Spot the lie. Then I said, screw these disingenuous bootlickers and screw the orange idiot to whom they bend the knee. We have the moral high ground, as it is we who wish to restore the republic. I stand by every motherfucking last word. Right? Now, I got a question. How many times have I said that when I'm talking about Trump supporters in this way, I am not talking about everybody who happened to cast a vote for Trump?
Well, you're going to have to say it a lot because people like to put you in that kind of box.
Right. So do I have to put a disclaimer like we have on the bottom of the screen here? Right. Because when I say they are the people that frequently say TDS, if you're not one of those people, then obviously I am not talking to you or about you. Okay. Now I have a cousin who Trump supporter, Trump voter, he will criticize him. I don't really know. Not the brightest guy. Okay, let me just put it that way. Not the brightest guy. Not about this. Not about politics. He's jumped in on my posts in the past, right? And I told him, I said to him, please do not put me in this position. Stop. The reason I'm saying that is because he's family. And I don't want to get into a food fight on Facebook with family. I happen to love his sister, who's my cousin, very much. I love his father very much. Hell, I love him very much. I grew up with him. So I said, please stop. He refuses. The other day, he watches a clip from this show where we're talking about Trump. And he says on Instagram to me, you need to find something else to do. He then tells me all I do is talk about Trump. So I explained to him, no, I actually host 4 separate shows, only one of which is devoted to politics. The thing is that the clips that I'm able to post are from this show. So they're mostly about politics, right? So today, after I posted that, and he jumps in, oh, how can you say you have the moral high ground when you're calling people bootlickers? And then, he says he's tired of being lumped in with Nazis and with authoritarians and this and that. And then I finally got fed up and I said, dude, the only one lumping you in with those people is you. And I told him, I said, listen, dude, I've asked you explicitly not to do this. I've given you a ton of leeway. That's done with. And then I proceeded to tell him, okay, let's dive deep into your ignorance. What is the philosophical framework from which you're making your moral judgments, or from which you form your ethical conclusions? I asked him, what is the fundamental philosophical idea upon which the United States is based? I said, you're talking economics. Can you please differentiate between Austrian Keynesianism, the Chicago School, and MMT? I said, what is the difference between originalism or, strict construction in a living constitution? Which one do you adhere to and why? I said, the point here, Jonathan, as his name, is you can't answer any of these questions. You jump into a feed and want to shoot off your mouth because your emotions are telling you to. I said, meanwhile, you're telling me I'm obsessed while you repeatedly make fake profiles so that you can get online and run your fucking mouth. Right? So then he comes back and says, I just think it's wrong that you're out here basically calling your entire family bootlickers. I said, okay, dude, first of all, it's not my entire family, because you're the only one, right? Nobody else is taking offense. You're the only one. Now, I do have other family and friends who voted for Trump, and I don't care that they voted for him. I understand it was a rough choice, but they know I'm not talking about them. So why do you feel the need to, I would love to retire bootlickers. I like numbers. Matter of fact, I wish the bootlickers would retire. So, but my point here is that what I want to get to is we have a totalitarian president. Now, people will frequently chime in and say, "Oh, well, it's not a totalitarian country because you can critique Trump." Yes, I can, because there are still some limits on him. But if Trump had his druthers, I would not be able to criticize him. You would not be able to criticize him. This is so far now beyond it, because I'm tired of the comparison, right? Well, all politicians lie. All politicians do this. Yes, it's true. He has taken it to such another level. In this instance right here, which we're going to get to, of threatening indictment of the Federal Reserve chairman, because there's a claim that the Federal Reserve chairman lied about expenses on how much the remodeling of the Fed is, which is such bullshit. I mean, Tisha James, James Comey, John Bolton, this guy threatening the media. Yes, I know Trump is always justified in the eyes of his supporters, but he's not. This is not justified. Not in the least bit. Now, a few months ago, or maybe it's a few weeks, I don't know, Trump said that there could be indictments coming of the Federal Reserve. When asked yesterday, he said, "Oh, I know nothing about this." So is he demented or is he a liar? Because I'll tell you what, Mark, if this was Joe Biden, who couldn't remember that he had said someone was going to be indicted, you'd have the Trumpsters all out talking about how he has dementia, how he's retarded, how he can't speak full sentences. Can we just stop the fucking hypocrisy for a moment?
No, I wish we could.
For the love of everything fucking holy, right? Stop telling me that the tariff man, that the man who wants to put checks, limits on credit cards, interest on the man who wants to invest in the housing market, put price controls on pharmaceutical companies. Stop telling me he's fighting the left, and stop telling me I'm on the left because I oppose him. Because on nearly every issue you could go by traditionally, I'm to Trump's right, not to his left.
To whatever degree those things mean, yeah. Look, he's using this a suit against Powell as a means to try to pressure him into doing his will. The Federal Reserve, as much as it sucks, and all of us here, I think, agree that we would prefer a free banking system to a Federal Reserve. I think that's much safer for people, for their finances. It keeps them more free. To the extent that there is a Federal Reserve, it's supposed to be independent of politics, so not influenced by political will, and particularly not the whims of this particular president, who only has one thing in mind, Michael, and that is he wants to pretend as if the economy is booming. And he knows if he lowers those interest rates, it's going to stoke the market, it's going to stoke buying, it's going to stoke consumerism, and it's going to make it appear that our economy is flying high, so he can go on the news and say, "Look what we're doing," and all his lackeys at Fox News and all this, and the literal bootlickers who that's sincerely what they are. Man, I hate that term because I hear it all the time from commies, but it's accurate here. These are people who are sycophants within his administration. They never tell him no. They're going to be touting these numbers as if, look how crazy the economists were telling us tariffs would cause inflation in certain parts of the market, and it's not doing it. Look how crazy they are saying that if we lowered interest rates, we're going to cause an inflationary cycle, a boom bust thing, and it's not happening. Look how wrong they are. Well, no, they're not wrong. They are right, and they should be listened to, because this is what will be the end of the Trump administration, likely come at the very end of his administration, so it won't fall on him specifically, but it'll certainly fall on us.
So I like numbers, says, oh, he's fooled the stock market. Okay, what about employment? I like numbers. What about the manufacturing jobs? that he was supposed to rescue with his tariffs that
All
are
down.
going down, that
All
are
down.
declining, right? Yes, you do have a booming stock market. Interesting, because when the stock market boomed under Obama, I don't recall all the Trump supporters saying, oh, look how good the economy is because there's a booming stock market. When it was booming under Biden, I wonder, I like numbers. Were you touting the stock market of evidence of Biden's policies? I'm just curious. I like numbers. Please show me. The stock market can be a leading indicator. It can also be the leading indicator of a bubble that's going to eventually burst.
Which I think is the case more right now.
But even if it doesn't, employment, we're losing employment. And he's not been in office a year yet. We have not felt the full ramifications of his policies that he's implemented, but he has not yet been able to implement the credit card interest limits. I don't know that he's implemented yet.
Michael, if he were able to do that, you know what you have to say? Goodbye to credit. You'd say goodbye to credit.
Yes, but I mean, what people want to justify him. So fine. But what I wish they would stop doing, if you want to support him, support him. But I wish they would stop claiming they're doing it in the name of liberty. Stop saying it's in the name of the Constitution. And for fuck's sake, stop saying it's in support of capitalism, because it's not.
Thank you. Thank you. We've been saying that from the very beginning. We have made this disclaimer that Trump is not a capitalist. But Michael, I hate to say it, when these policies fail, and they will fail,
capitalism will get the blame.
Capitalism is going to get the blame. They're going to say, look, he tried to deregulate the market. Look at all the stuff that he tried to do to make us to free up the market. And that resulted in this massive bubble, this massive bust, this massive financial disaster. That's what they're going to say.
So I'm gonna be honest today. I'm in no mood. I'm in no mood to cut breaks. I'm in no mood to go easy on people. So whatever. I like numbers. Nobody said that the economy doing well is a mirage. That's not what Marx said. If you want to critique something, critique what he actually said. What Marx said was that given that there's been some bad numbers, and given that Trump knows bad numbers are coming, he wants to cut interest rates to produce the mirage that the economy is doing well. It's a hypothesis, a prediction, a supposition of what Trump's motive is. So you cannot look at the economy now and judge Mark's statement.
I would also say I like numbers.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be abusive. I don't. But I'm out of patience.
To the extent that the economy is doing well, we have to commend the capitalism that's in it. It's doing well despite the obstacles that Trump is putting in front of it, and that seems to be the way Americans happen to operate. When he first started trying to implement his onerous tariffs, I mean, it was the manufacturers, it was the entrepreneurs out there who are figuring out ways to get all of those assets to us more cheaply. And so they figured out very, very creative ways of skirting around the tariffs so that we could get access to those products. And that's what they do. They are able to navigate this complicated system of obstacles that politicians put in their way and still enable us to get stuff better than anywhere else in the world. For that, they are heroes. And they are under recognized for being able to navigate this shit system that the political parasites in Washington put in front of them. But I guarantee you, Trump's system is not one that sets us up for long-term success.
Okay, so how is the economy doing? Well, it's mixed. We had 1 quarter of good growth that all the Trumpsters are out there touting. I don't remember, though, during the quarter in Biden's administration when it was stronger than that, all the Trumpsters saying, oh, look at what a genius Biden is and look how strong the economy is. I don't remember that. You know what I do remember is them criticizing Biden. You know what I remember me doing? Saying Biden's economic policies are not good. And I'm doing the same thing now. I'm not out here going by 1 quarter. So yes, he had a quarter of good growth. We've also got probably the worst year in job numbers since they've been studying that stuff, right? And there's plenty of reason, as the economists we've had on this show have said, to think that perhaps those numbers are anomalous. We also know.
Deeper with Diego says something that, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, we also have a situation where people that are reporting the numbers know that they might get fired and now might even get indicted if they do what this guy doesn't want. So it's very difficult to assess. What I do know is there's serious structural weaknesses in the economy. There's still relatively high inflation. Trump has not gotten rid of it, despite the claims of his followers. But the thing is, the policies he wants have not all gone into effect. I'll tell you what, I like numbers. Let's you and I just make a little bet. All right, a gentleman's bet, if you will. If Trump gets lower interest rates, combined with throwing money into the housing market, combined with caps on credit card interest, you are going to see a debacle the likes of which you could not imagine. You're going to have shortages in credit combined with a high demand for credit. You're going to have investments in the housing market without people not being able to get loans.
Absolutely.
You're going to end up with a crash. So just mark this day, January 12, 2026. If Donald Trump gets his way in regards to the housing market, the credit card market, the price controls, and if he wins his case on the tariffs, you're going to have an economic disaster.
You have to remember, I like numbers, that if credit card interest rates are high, they're high because of risk. So high risk people are going to have high interest rates. And to prevent the credit card companies from having that as a hedge against the risk, is just it's asking them to act against their own interests, which is not a very capitalistic concept. But Deeper with Diego has his own lived experience here. He says, prices of pretty much everything in my life is up. Economy in my life absolutely sucks. And I got to tell you, Deeper with Diego, same thing with me. Michael, I go to the grocery store, I buy 5 things, it's $60. It doesn't even fill a complete grocery bag. Right. I mean, 30%, 40% higher on prices for most things that I'm buying right now just to eat.
Okay, so Ian Gilmore is wrong. Ian Gilmore says this is a bad bet. Predicting economic stuff is hard. Yes, it's very hard, but some things are obvious. And I'll give you one example. During COVID, when they locked down and expanded the money supply, I predicted, and it wasn't a difficult prediction, that we were going to see a spike in prices. It didn't take a rocket scientist to understand that if you inject money into the economy while cutting production, you're going to have a rise in prices. That's not hard to tell. Not even a little bit. Joe Markley, a Connecticut former senator and professor, said I remember him saying at the time, after I said it, but not because I said it, that if there's not inflation as a result of this, I know nothing about economics. And what I'm saying is that you're talking about tariffs. Yes. Well, first of all, the effects of tariffs that the economists have predicted are happening because there are rises in prices in the industries that are tariffed.
And there's rises in inputs. There's rises in inputs too, which is going to make bringing back manufacturing next to impossible.
Yeah, it is not difficult to predict the effects of lowering overall interest rates by injecting money into the system, putting a cap on credit cards, implementing tariffs, and investing money in the housing market. It's not difficult to predict. Now, is it difficult to predict the exact moment? Sure, but we will see the spikes in prices.
We're already seeing them.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And we will eventually have a crash. That's what I'm predicting. And that's not an extreme prediction. It's not as if I'm saying, well, you don't know what's going to happen if you implement this one economic policy. What I'm saying is, if he gets the litany of his economic preferences, price control on medications, interest control on credit cards.
Say goodbye to R&D, by the way, in medication.
Yeah, yes, injecting money into the economy and injecting money into the housing market, we will have the boom bust cycle that we're accustomed to. It's not that hard to predict.
Deeper Diego says, thank God Trump put those regulations and tariffs on steel and wood from Canada, our natural northern enemy. Yes, thank God for that. They were dumping steel and wood in our country, Michael. They were making steel and wood so affordable that we could actually build things cheaper. Yeah, we have to buy American. We have to produce all this stuff American so that it's exponentially more expensive to build in America. Beautiful thinking. Yeah, Trump is a disaster, and the scariest part of this Trump administration, Michael, is not so much his economic ignorance, not so much his political ignorance and his boorishness. It's his disregard for the Constitution. The one thing the Republicans were supposed to fucking stand for was constitutional originalism, for Christ's sakes.
Yes. So, I'm kind of disappointed that we got into this discussion about economics, because it's really not what I want to talk about, because the practical effects here and there of a given policy is not really my concern. And I've allowed us to get derailed by the comments. The point is that we have an authoritarian in office with less and less impediments to what he wants to do. That is the problem. The problem is he has a vice president who shares his inclinations, but is a lot smarter and a lot more polished, but lies just as easy. Are you okay?
Yes. I'm looking at an article right now. Sorry, I'm trying to get the ICE article up because I think this is very, very important. I've seen.
Okay, this is interesting, right? So.
Plus
JD Vance,
plus your chat GPT thing.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So here's the thing, right? We have a situation where the vice president of the United States recently said, I mean, I'm not inventing this, that ICE agents are going to be going door to door looking for illegal immigrants. That on its own is so un-American. Of course, it's not un-American if you're JD Vance and you're blood and soil. Right? If your blood and soil and your roots to this country are all that matters, and you have heritage Americans and how far you can trace your ancestry back, well, then it's really not un-American. But if you look at America as partly an idea, the idea that I alluded to earlier with the philosophical foundation of individual rights, civil liberties, then the idea of ICE agents going door to door is a goddamn travesty. Right? Now, you reference, I was thinking about this morning. Hold on, let's just see this here. Gary Menard with $4.99 super chat says, it is my belief that the American Capitalist Party is the only political party that represents the spirit of 76. Amen to that. Thank you, brother. Very much, Gary Menard.
Absolutely true.
So, what this got me thinking about, because I was thinking about, after arguing with Jim Valiant the other day all morning about the case in Minnesota, where I once again thought Jim might be on goofy pills, but actually Jim and I agreed on far more than it seemed once we got to the end of the discussion.
If Jim is on goofy pills, I'd like some of those goofy pills.
Yeah. But the one incident in what took place in Minnesota recently, as sad as it is, and regardless of how it turns out, in my view, isn't really the point. The point to me is this idea of masked agents going door to door, of masked agents roaming the American streets, looking for people to deport, to arrest, to get rid of. I mean, there's a claim, and I don't know, I haven't been able to verify the full extent of it, the full accuracy of it, but there was a 17-year-old working at a Target who was an American citizen and was detained. There's some reports, but they haven't been confirmed or denied yet, that he was dropped off 8 minutes from where they picked him up and he was crying. But what we do know is he was a 17-year-old American citizen detained.
I did see some of the video of that. Some of that is on video, by the way.
Yes, it is.
7 or 8 masked ICE officers in full army fatigues with full weapons on top of this 17-year-old kid, by the way, saying the whole time, I'm an American citizen.
Right. So I started to think about, when in history has government agents in masks been looked at as being on the team of the good guys? But that wasn't really a question I could get an answer to. So what I asked ChatGPT for was, over the last 200 years, to tell me what countries have employed masked agents on their streets. These are the countries. Nazi Germany did it, 1933 to 1945, the Gestapo. 2, Chile under Pinochet, the Dirección de Inteligencia Nacional, the secret police. Also, its successor, the Central Nacional de Informaciones. 3, the Soviet Union, KGB. 4, various Latin American military regimes did it. 5, Iran under the Shah. 6, modern U.S. federal enforcement in 2025, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement 2020s through 2025. Is this really who we want to be associated with? Do we really think that somehow what's happening in America right now is the exception? That they're the exception to the rule, that masked agents on the streets in unmarked vehicles that are, according to the vice president, going door to door? Is this the exception throughout history?
Listen,
and when you put it, let me just finish. I'm a little aggravated.
Yeah, go.
Aggravated. And when you put it in the context of a president who has now indicted 3 of his enemies, is threatening to indict a 4th, has threatened to take licenses from media companies that criticize him. When you've got a president and vice president who fabricate stories about immigrants eating cats and dogs, when you have an endless row of sycophants ready to defend them, do we really think that this is going to prove the exception throughout history? I, for one, say no.
Listen, when Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, tries to rationalize the policy of masking these agents, what she's doing is saying something anti-American. Now, in my view, the police are there to serve you. You have to know their identity. It is imperative that you know their identity. That is a check against their power. Knowing who they are, what they are there for, and being able to identify them to the world is exactly what checks their power. And the fact that they're hiding this stuff enables these ICE agents to be twice as brutal. Michael, if you see these arrests, there's nothing professional about these arrests. There's nothing considerate of the rights and innocence of the people. It's thugs jumping on top of people and throwing them into cars.
Did you see? Let me just verify this is true. Keep talking. I want to just verify the accuracy of this real quickly, of what I'm about to say.
Yeah, I know people are saying, well, there's such hostility towards the police now. Well, some of that is understandable given the way the police are being hostile to the American people. Their duty, their fiduciary duty to the people of the United States of America, or to the individual states and localities that they're in, is to protect and serve them, to presume innocence before guilt. And that requires an entirely different approach to policing than what they're doing now, which is the presumption of guilt first, and then going in and attacking people and using undue force to achieve their ends. And the only way you keep these people honest, folks, body cams, filming them while they're doing what they're doing, making sure their identities are known so that these people cannot get away with murder.
All right, we don't have confirmation, so I don't know about it. But the 2 ICE agents slipped on the ice. See, Jim here is, and I'm all for making constitutional arguments, but my argument here is beyond law and beyond Constitution and beyond what they're going to get away with. What I'm talking about is the idea of masked agents in unmarked vehicles on city streets, arresting people. Sometimes American
It's militarized. It's militarized, though. I mean,
right.
It's militarized masked agents. It's not people going undercover trying to do a sting. It's people. It is people armed to the freaking teeth as if they're an infantryman.
And it's a broader context. Like, people keep saying, well, if you just comply, okay. But at some point, and I'm not saying we're there yet, compliance is not the right thing to do. So we can't just make an argument that, well, if you would just comply. I don't like that argument. I do think that in a legitimate society with a legitimate government, legitimate systems, yes, you should obey lawful orders. But with Trump, we're more and more getting away from that.
Absolutely. And in a sense, you have an obligation not to comply with an unlawful order, and so that puts us in quite a pickle, I think, Michael, because that then gives these militarized police officers, who I think have a very different mindset than a peace officer should have. It gives them the excuse to use physical violence against people, because in a sense, you're resisting an unlawful arrest.
Yeah, I don't know where we go from here. I don't see somebody down the pike that could get elected. That could help this. I think Eric Erickson today, a prominent conservative talk show host who's reasonable. I actually enjoy him, even when I disagree. He said people hate bullies and Trump looks like a bully. That may be true, and they may vote him out. But then what are they going to replace him? That's the problem. Where is somebody that's taking I hate the word moderate. I really do. But let's say a reasonable perspective on things. Somebody that'll bring back some standards of decency, of respect for the law, of constitutionalism. I don't see it anywhere, not on either side of the aisle.
No, Ian Gilmore says, I hope I would not have complied with slave catchers. I hope the very same thing. And I feel we're sort of in very similar situations now. But Michael, I like the fact that people are gathering together and attempting to protect these immigrants, filming the officers doing what they're doing and exposing what the officers are doing to the world. I think light on this subject is exactly what we need to cure it. As much as the Department of Homeland Security is trying to make it illegal and a felony, a crime to film these people, the more brave people that get out there and film these arrests. In fact, the video that you sent me, a woman was asking for the name and phone number of the person who was being arrested so she could contact his family and get them there for him. I think all of this stuff is good. This is Americans binding together with the idea, however jaundiced it is, of Americanism, of individual rights. It's this, Michael, this should grate every person who has a sense of individualism in all the wrong ways. This should really grate against you, because we're experiencing police state tactics in an unprecedented manner, or at least it hasn't been, I think, around it universally for many decades. You put something up on there, but I didn't see it. What was it?
It was a super chat from a super sticker from Gail P for $1.99, I believe. I'll go back and check. I just want to verify. Yes, thank you very, very much, Gail.
Thank you very much. Do we want to move on to Machado? Because I think that's an interesting thing. Or do you want to keep going on this?
Well, I think we should do. Maybe we'll put me in. I don't know if it's going to put me in a good mood to do this. I was thinking about this the other day. You told me I'm always angry.
I did. I don't remember that. That's all right.
This is why I'm always angry.
Because I forget that I tell you that you're always angry?
Yeah. Are you noticing that the beard and mustache is coming back? And I got a snazzy haircut.
Taking a long time, though.
It's not taking a long time.
It's taking a bit.
No, Persephone disagrees as she's ogling me right now. Look, I told you.
So go ahead. What were you going to say?
I think Jenna's ogling me as well. What was I going to say is, I don't know. I think maybe we can get to the myths of capitalism article. I thought it was a good article.
I love that. I reposted that, as a matter of fact. Let me see if I can bring it up quickly here. Because these myths of capitalism particularly bug me, because I hear almost every single one of them when I talk to communists. By the way, who I don't talk to anymore. I used to have exchanges with them every day, but they're so toxic, I decided not to.
You didn't have exchange. Those weren't it just like I used to have exchanges.
Yeah, well, they were vitriolic exchanges. It was like.
Do you remember what you put me through in that debate that we had with them?
What I put you through?
Yeah.
What about
Persephone? Persephone, can you just nod or shake your head no if you were aware of what happened during that debate with the two communists? You know what happened? Okay. For those of you that don't know, Mark roped me in to this debate with these two commie scumbags.
No, it was only supposed to be us talking to the one cat.
No, there were supposed to be two initially. The other one didn't show up, and then he brought in somebody later who was a bigger dick than even he was. That's what happened.
Right.
So there came a moment in the debate when it became obvious that the guy really didn't want to debate. He wanted to just be a dick. So when that happened, I said, I'm done. But now I wasn't going to click off the screen and leave my boy there. So Mark, instead of saying, let's go, and I'm furiously texting him, by the way, let's go, stop. Mark tells the guy, how about I just choke the fucking hell out of you? Right.
After that,
I'm like, dude, let's go. So finally we took off. The point is that Mark, I will choke the life out of you, Pellegrino, was not just having exchanges with the commies.
Well, there is no such thing as an exchange with a commie. They argue with you in bad faith. So eventually, my friend, it has to come to blows because that's what they want anyway. That's what they want
to come to blows. What are you talking about? No, it doesn't.
As the supposed leader of the American Communist Party wants us to come to blows. That's what he's constantly trying to push onto.
But that's not what you said. You're switching it. You first said we have to. He can want whatever he wants. It doesn't mean we have to give it to him.
No, you have to give it to them. Otherwise, they're going to try to give it to you. But let's talk about the myths.
They're not giving it. Listen, they are not giving anything to me.
I'm all for a good offense. Listen, Myths of Capitalism. This is a great article. I reposted it. It's a foundation of economic education. I put it on my X account. If you want to see it, maybe Mike will repost it on his. But I think everybody should read this article. If you want to vote properly, if you don't want to be taken in by the parasitic political class and their fucking bullshit, like the unfortunate people in New York City have been taken in by Mamdani, you will read this article and it should, I hope, change or at least spark something in your mind to get you thinking that maybe your premises are incorrect about capitalism. Myth number one, Michael. Capitalism was created. Now, this isn't a myth that particularly bothers me that much, but it's certainly a myth that you hear because, of course, socialism is a centrally planned thing. So they create socialism. They try to create a society. They think the same thing happens with respect to capitalism, but that's not entirely true. Why don't you talk about what capitalism is? Is it created or does it just...
First of all, you told me I'm in the middle of posting something. And now you interrupt me to do this. Finish. Tell him something. Smile. Give him your Lucifer charm.
I can't smile. My mustache gets in the way, which people are starting to make fun of, by the way.
They're starting to?
It's starting to capture any liquid I drink. If I drink water, it 90% of it goes into my mustache and not my mouth. It's just, but I can't do anything about it. I can't cut the mustache because I have to wait for them to do it. And that's going to be on the 24th when I travel back to start work. Then they'll trim it all up and I'll look.
So you're heading to Canada on the 24th?
That's correct.
So you're going to be here every day until then?
That's correct.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, every day until the 24th.
I don't understand something. Why is it when you're right there in Canada, you can't get in your jet and fly over here to see me?
Because I don't have a jet. I mean, I could have the travel people, set me up on a thing and,
Yeah, Mark should get a straw. So Mark Pellegrino calls me 4 p.m. 4 p.m. He's in Queens, New York at the airport. 4 p.m. He calls me and says to me, fuck, I should have told you I was here. I forgot all about it. Oh man, I got to leave tomorrow. I said, you know what, man? You're my friend. I'm coming there. Took off for Queens immediately. Over a 2-hour drive to make sure I could see the guy, right? He's up the street from me every week right there in Canada. He's got his own private jet, his own limo. Yeah, his own limo service. They drive him around wherever he wants to go, and I don't see him. Capitalism is what made that possible, by the way.
Indeed, it did. So let's talk about capitalism. Is it created?
No, not. Well, let's
come about.
So, I mean, capitalism is it's very Hayekian what the guy's talking about. Capitalism is an evolved spontaneous order, that it's what happens when people trade with each other, when people build, when people produce. I should have put that in the other order. When people build, when people produce, when people save, when people trade, capitalism, markets are what occur. Now, the one thing, and the author doesn't mention this, but I would say this, but I think Hayek would certainly agree with me, that you also have to have political systems evolve along with it. Rule of law, individual liberty, things of that nature have to evolve with it. So in that sense, it's been argued that the market is a government creation. I would think that actually could be flipped and say that market relations are what creates the proper kind of government. But the two, I believe, are kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Reciprocal causation.
I would agree. Akira Felix says, Elizabeth Warren was the first time I was afraid of a politician. She was worse than Obama. She is a frightening human being.
It's funny you say that. I supported W in 2000 because I was new to politics. I was already into liberty, and I thought he was the conservative, the liberty guy. In 2004, I was still supporting the war in Iraq. It was the war on terror. I still thought Bush was better than Kerry. I still do. So I supported him. In 2008, in the primary, I ultimately ended up supporting McCain, which was a mistake on my part. For the same reason, I was still under the illusion that the government was actually going to fight and win the war on terror. Plus, Obama was just such a nightmare. 2012 came along, and I was far more mature in my thinking on politics, and I thought, what's his name there? Not Mamdani, Romney. I didn't want him to win. I would have favored Gingrich. I thought that Gingrich, why I don't like a lot of what he has to say, I think he's smart. He's an ideas guy. And I said, there's no way I can support Romney no matter what in this thing. He had the individual mandate in Massachusetts. And then I watched Barry's State of the Union speech. And it was socialism light from A to Z. And I said, I have to support anybody over this guy. I never thought I could dislike a politician more than I disliked Barack Obama. I didn't think I could be any more afraid of what a politician could do. I saw the Kool-Aid drinking that was going on. He had a mass following. They defended him no matter what. Any criticisms of him were, you're racist or prejudiced. All that shit was going on. And I thought, wow, this is just awful. And then came Trump. And Trump ran in a primary with 16, I think, other guys. I would have supported any one of those other Republicans for president, but I wanted Rand Paul. Rand Paul was the guy I wanted, but I couldn't stand Hillary. So I would have supported anybody. The only guy I would not support is the guy that ended up winning. And the reason I won't support him is because he's so far from being a liberty guy that I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't know how I got to that. Oh, because of you reading comments about Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah,
she sucks too.
Trump has become the pinnacle, or I should say, the nadir of politics now. But it's starting a race to the bottom, man. And now it seems like every politician who wants to make a name for his or herself is racing to the bottom. The scummier they are, the more silly they are, the more ostentatious they are, the more popular they seem to be. Myth number 2, capitalism creates poverty. This is the one I hate beyond belief, Michael. I hate this so much.
Sometimes in life, Mark, I like this. What I just read here makes me want to cry. It really does. I'm not giving hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. I'm going to detour the convo for 1 second because this actually makes me want to shed tears.
Okay.
From Andy Bernstein on Facebook. ICE has released a list of some of the malefactors they've arrested during their surge in Minnesota. Take a look at it. It includes convicted murderers, child rapists, and other violent criminals. I posted it on my wall. It's chilling. He's posting government propaganda is what he's posting. Also, if you've seen the video footage from the ICE agent's own phone taken from in front of Renee Good's car, it's clear she accelerates the car directly into him. That's not clear, Andy. I'm sorry. You see it on the footage and hear the oomph as the car hits him. This is assault with a deadly weapon and self-defense on the ICE officer's part. I hereby offer a great big heartfelt thank you to the ICE officers who risked their lives to clear out streets of dangerous criminals. I urge this policy. Leftist agitators who impede ICE investigations, blocking them with their cars and so forth, should be immediately arrested, then tried, convicted, and incarcerated for obstruction of justice. Andy Bernstein, for the love of everything holy, you're not the good guy. You're my dear friend and I love you. You're not the good guy. Trump is not the good guy. ICE are not the good guys. They're there to enforce unconstitutional immigration laws. You're not for freedom. They aren't fucking heroes. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just looked at that and it made me sick.
This is a terribly disappointing thing to hear from an objectivist who's I think written some great things respecting capitalism.
He's lost the plot.
He's lost.
Let me. Matter of fact, I'm going to say this outright.
Michael, even
I'm angry.
Guys like Andy, they get so caught up in the left, and they think the left is the Satan that they have to defeat, and so the enemy of their enemy is their friend.
Here's the thing: he will not watch any media outside of Trumpistan. He literally does not know. It's all propaganda filling his head at this point.
But that's anti-objectivist. I mean, an objectivist should look at all of that stuff to try to assess the truth. That's his responsibility. I mean, it's his responsibility for the health of his own mind, for crying out loud. This is very sad to me, because I've loved a lot of the stuff that Andy said in the past and some of the stuff that he's written in the past. But he's completely lost the plot over
I love Andy.
Yeah.
He's my personal friend. I've spent considerable amount of time with him roaming around New York. I love Andy. This is absurd.
Yeah, it is.
But here's the thing, Mark. That whole objectivist sort of Trumpistan group they've got there, Andy Bernstein, Ed Majlis, David Harriman, Mike Hurd. There's a whole slew of them. I've offered to debate every single one of them. I've got a track record a mile long of having respectful debates, including with Andy. Not one of them accepts. Which I thought
Andy did, but he wanted 45.
Well, where is he?
Yeah.
Right? Not one of them accepts, which to me is a hint that they know. On some level, they know. That's it. Okay, back to the myths of capitalism.
Then they're obligated to change their premises, and
again,
they will.
For the record, in case there's somebody watching that wants to tell Andy I smear him. I love Andy Bernstein. I think in many ways he's a brilliant, brilliant man. But he's just wrong.
Deeper Diego says something interesting here. The litmus test is are you fighting a battle between the left and the right, or are you fighting a battle between individuals and collectivists? I agree with that. I think that's essential.
I'd take it one step further.
Go ahead.
I think it's good versus evil.
Well, I do hold individualism as good, and I do.
No, I do. I just think that it's broader. No, Jim, I don't love the sin. Well, I guess you could. I do. And I don't believe in sin. Let me just say that. I think Andy's wrong on this one badly.
Well, sin literally means missing the mark. So in the sense, he is missing the mark, but he's missing it by a.
There's a religious context, especially to the quote. All right, let's finish up this myth.
The myth of capitalism creating poverty, because it's a myth that socialists love to push forward, irrespective of all the evidence that the freer and more capitalistic a country, the richer it is, and the higher economic strata is for the poor. I mean, the poor here in America, Michael, so many of them considered poor, have homes, have a couple of cars, have televisions, have iPhones, microwave ovens. They have things that, were inconceivable to the wealthy only 50 years ago. This doesn't seem to register to socialists who point out wealth disparities and make it seem like that wealth disparity means capitalism is creating poverty.
See, I learned from Thomas Sowell, poverty is the natural state, right?
I think that's a very important thing to make clear to people, by the way.
It is. There is no affluence in nature, right? Affluence has to be produced. And not only in that sense, but for the vast majority of mankind's history, poverty has been the rule. Starvation, early death, infant mortality has been the rule. It's capitalism that's brought us out of that.
Exactly. Poverty is the de facto state of mankind, and capitalism has helped us be relieved from that state. Here's myth 3, Michael, because we have to go pretty quickly here.
Go pretty quickly.
Myth 3, capitalism is about capital, of course, because that's what Marx told us. He was the one who came up with the term capitalism. So people think it's about profit and capital and it has nothing to do with people. But it's about what we've been talking about. Every time we talk about capitalism, we hit this moral tone, which is, no, capitalism is really about liberty. It's about 100% choice, 100% moral agency over your life, over every aspect of your actions. That's where your human dignity is, and your capacity to think and act on what you think without being forced into doing something that somebody else's preferences. So capitalism isn't really about capitalism. It's about liberty. What do you say to that? Because I think that is the greatest selling point of capitalism of all time. Why isn't it more popular then? Why aren't people seeing that capitalism is really just about being free?
I don't know. I can't answer that because I do not know, but I think it's a good point nevertheless.
Myth number 4, capitalism creates winners and losers. Michael, I don't know of a single economic system in the world that doesn't have winners and losers.
Well, life has winners and losers.
Life has winners and losers. Yes. Economic systems have winners and losers.
And by the way, I mean, just if we're going to go to the extreme, in the end, we all lose. Right. We're
out of this alive.
Yeah, no one's getting out alive. But in life, I don't care if you're living in tribes, whatever you're doing, people are fundamentally not equal. And what I mean by that is we're not the same. Some people are better at this, some people are better at that. Some people choose to get rich, some people take risks, some people benefit from those risks, some people suffer. Life entails the possibility of failure. And given the numbers and given free will and that people are not infallible, some people are going to fail. Some people are going to succeed. Capitalism doesn't produce that. Capitalism is, as Barack Obama used to say, the rising tide that lifts all ships.
That's absolutely true. And winners and losers in a socialist system are winners by virtue of their political connections. They're winners by bureaucrats who happen to prefer them over others. In capitalism, the winners are those who produce values that people want and exchange freely with. And so both people, in essence, are winners. And in the other system, the winners chosen by the bureaucrats are the only ones who really win. The rest of you lose. So yes, capitalism is a win-win world, folks. It's a win-win world because everybody is free to choose. That's your vote. You vote for a product when you give it your dollar. And that product is a value that you desire more than the dollar you possess. And so that's the kind of world that we want, folks. A world in which you are free to choose in every aspect of your life. That is the benevolent universe that we are fighting for here in the Capitalist Corner, and that the American Capitalist Party is fighting for us. Go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org, read the policies, donate, be a part of the change. We're making moves in Georgia. We're making moves in Alabama. We're making moves in New York. We're really, I think, starting to express our voice and get out there in the world and affect change. We need it, folks. As everybody can see, 90% of the people out there in the world are dissatisfied with the political establishment as it is. They want something different. What's different? Individualism, my friend. Michael, do you have a question that you want people to answer?
Yeah, my question is, why did Mark give the capitalist thought of the day when it was clearly my turn? No, I'm grateful that he did. Yeah, the question for the day is, what is the most important issue to you currently? Could be political, could be philosophical, could be personal. I just want to know, what is the single issue most important to you right now? Obviously, it has to be something you're, willing to put out there. I'm not asking for personal business, but I would like to know what's the most important issue to you right now. Please go to our YouTube channel, American Capitalist Party, and answer the question. Thank you, everybody.
I'm sure it may be affordability, folks. I know that is the issue.
You don't do that.
Maybe mine. I'm throwing it out there, but you guys might have something else. Folks, we're going to be here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. You got 23 hours to check your premises. Get every ounce of statism out of you. Embrace individualism. It's beautiful. It's great. It will lead to prosperity and happiness for you and for all of us. Until then, peace.